My name is Trevor Greenfield, and I am the founder of Rio Nutrition. Rio Nutrition is the home of Rio Max and Rhyzogreen. I am unashamedly extremely passionate about agriculture and living out our purpose, which is driving profitability back to rural North America. So I'm privileged to be with Kayla today, and go ahead and introduce yourself, Kayla.
Yeah, sure. I am Kayla McMackin. I am the Senior Vice President of North America for Agrellus. Our company does everything from farm-scale crop trials and third-party data collection to sustainability initiatives, as well as an agricultural inputs marketplace.
Great. So we've been feeding microbes in the rumen of a cow, Rio Max. We've been doing that for over 2 decades. Rhyzogreen was kind of a natural next step, taking the technology that we had taken so many years working with feeding microbes in the rumen of a cow and transferring that technology into the soil. Just a huge leap of faith, really. There's a certain fire that burns inside me that makes me not afraid to fail when I'm doing the right thing and in alignment with my purpose, and that is driving profitability back to rural North America. So in this journey, as we stepped into the soil space, feeding microbes in the soil, it's a crowded space. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of competitors, and there's a lot of snake oil. Probably not a day goes by that I don't have someone say to me, well, how do I know it ain't snake oil? Fair enough, fair question. We have done tons of our own trials. We've worked with our customers. They've done trials. We've got soil data, we've got tonnage data, we've got TDN, RFV, we've got a pile of data. The challenge we were running into was it was all ours or our customers. So from an outsider looking in, they're like, yeah, but how do we know? How can we trust that? And we run into Agrellus. Getting that validified, getting it sort of getting a third-party set of eyes on it, I think is great.
Absolutely.
Because it helps deal with this uncertainty and skepticism, which I don't blame people for having. So these guys were the first third-party validation body that we engaged. And so, Kayla, tell us a little bit about what you guys found.
Absolutely. So just to preface, so at Agrellus, our program called Proving Ground is our third-party validation arm. We built that because of the need for farmers to assess, is this real or is this snake oil? Like you said, there are a ton of things out there that are all claiming, we boost your yield, we boost your soil health, we make roots bigger, we do X, Y, Z.
And so Dad was very skeptical last year, and even he made a comment. He's just like, well, you got to be careful of snake oil and that kind of stuff. And there's been lots of like salesmen touting, you know, this will add X amount to your bottom line. This will add 5 bushels to the acre. You know, you have all these guarantees and you throw, you know, all these 5 bushels to the acre products at things, and like you should be cutting like 400 bushel wheat, right? Like, I spent the money, why isn't it working?
And then when it hits the farm, it either doesn't do it or it's not quantifiable. And so what we set out to do was do farm scale trials. So we're not going to take a 1/4 acre section and look at it on that. We're going to take a whole field, we're going to split that in half, and then we're going to execute that trial so that we can see what that impact is and evaluate the full agronomic impact, but then also what that economic impact is to the farmer. What is the ROI? Is the product paying for itself? Et cetera, et cetera. And so when we partner with people like you and Rhyzogreen, we're able to go out and take that to a real operation with real practices, real residuals, all the things, and see how it's interacting in the market. And we take it, you didn't even know where the trials were going. You knew where the states were.
I'm still a bit upset about that. You know, I know what states the trials were done in, but I don't even know. I'm sitting in Texas right now. I don't even know where in Texas, and you don't have to tell me.
Nope.
But I think that's the whole point, is we took our validity to the next level.
Exactly. So when a product goes through our proving ground process, through its own unique trial protocol based upon what type of product it is, at the end of the day, if the agronomic and economic analysis come back that this product is a positive effect for farmers, it gets our proving ground certification. And what that means is that in this state, this crop, you're certified. It's proven to work on an agronomic level and an economic level. We're able to put it into our proprietary database, so when farmers go to request product, they can see your product in there, and they can also see a 1 to 6 page version of the trial summary. Sure. And that is specifically designed to answer the 3 questions that farmers ask the most, right? And do you know what those are?
I could guess, but you go ahead.
What does it do? How much is it going to cost me? And who do I know that has tried it?
So true.
Those are the ones they want to know, because they're going to trust Jim Bob down the road that their kids played baseball together for the last 10 years before they ever trust the salesman, right? Yeah. And so what we were able to do was build it in that way so that the results can speak to the farmer, answer those 3 questions, and then you guys, when you have a good product that gets certified, can capitalize on the existing rapport we have built with our retail network, our grower network, whether that be through the marketplace or through sustainability programs for specific products.
So could I ask, if you run any given product through Proving Ground and do that testing, and it doesn't meet the agronomic and economic benchmark, what do you do with it?
Absolutely, great question. So there are products that come through like that. Some of them may be snake oil, some of them they may just be making the wrong claims for their product. So if we have something that comes through and proves no agronomic impact, no economic impact, we don't certify that. And that's not going to go on the harvest database. We're not going to put that out there so that the farmers have an opportunity to buy a snake oil. That's just not what we're here to do. We're here to support farmers, impact the ag industry in a positive way. We also have that fire burning in our soul. When it comes to the evaluation, just because it's not proving the claims doesn't mean we stop there. We're going to take all of that data, further analyze it, and possibly identify a different recommendation. Maybe that recommendation is, this is not impactful in cotton, we need to look at grains, or we need to look at corn, soybeans, or small grains, we need to look at food market, almonds, apples, whatever. Right. The other thing we can do is maybe the claim is it increases yield, and it didn't increase yield, but what it did impact was actually something in the soil that prevented weeds from growing, or something like that. It fed the plant more than it fed the weeds. You'd think you would see a yield impact there, but if that's all we're looking for, we're gonna miss the smaller things that may be impactful. Right. And so at the end of the day, we can go back with our recommendations and say, hey, the claims are not proven. We can't certify that, but here are the things we found, and we think we should test for that and see how that is impacting and go the next step, because we need products. Everybody's looking for some kind of alternative, right? Whether they have a monetary incentive to do that, or they have a moral incentive to do that, or whatnot. Everybody's looking for the next best thing, because in the ag industry, or as a farmer, we have to constantly keep feeding the world with a growing population and a decrease in acres. So how do we continue to do that while also navigating the things like the environment and conventional fertilizers and limitations of supply, et cetera, et cetera?
That really resonates, because we have a saying, get more out of what you've already got. Yep. And they're not making land anymore. The flip side to that is there's the urban sprawl, so there's acres being lost every day of the year. And this is not a scare tactic, but it's more the reality we're dealing with, to help men and women in agriculture to be able to get more out of the land base they have. And it comes back to, the definition of insanity.
Yep.
Doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. Don't laugh if you're listening to this, because I've done it. However, that's what we want to help rural North America. We want to help agriculture, the fabric of our country, and that is to look at other ideas, look at other tools to be able to get more out of what we've already got. And that's why we partner with third-party verification bodies to say yay or nay. And like you said, it didn't happen to us, but if it had, it didn't work. Okay, well then where could it work, or what different crop or different geographical area may it work? So I really appreciate that. You know, it's vulnerable. It's not easy. I might look at you and say, hey, I'm a family businessman, my brother-in-law and myself own the company, trust us. But that's not how it works, because so many folks have got burned. So many folks have run into the proverbial snake oil. And so that's why I think it's so wholesome for us to be vulnerable and say, here, it's in your hands, there's 5 states. I don't know where in those 5 states, but maybe you could talk a little bit as to maybe the summary of the results you did find.
Absolutely. So we did, in 2024, we did trials for you guys in Idaho, Oregon, Washington, Oklahoma, and Texas. So a wide range of climates, soil types, practices. It's different everywhere you go. But looking specifically at alfalfa in either the Pacific Northwest or right here where we're sitting today, it wasn't in Amarillo. I'm not going to tell you where it's at. But
well, that's process of elimination.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of land out there. They say you can watch your dog run away for 3 days out here for a reason. But anyway, across all 5 of those different locations, the consistent thing was that there was a clear agronomic impact. We saw better activity in the soil from the microbes that were natural to that specific area. And across the board, if we average all of it, we saw a 25% increase in yield. And one thing that we haven't talked about a whole lot yet is what I want to reiterate is these...
I don't know what's coming.
These you don't know what's coming. These trials were done right before the last cutting. Your last cutting is not going to be your highest tonnage cutting. Typically, right, of alfalfa. So you're finer stemmed, you're leafier alfalfa because you're later in the season,
right,
that you're already gonna have a little less tonnage on. And so to me, as an alfalfa producer myself, as being the resident crazy horse girl who wants the 4th cutting alfalfa, I see that and I think, oh, for me as a producer, that is my highest value product, is my 4th cut alfalfa, because I sell into the equine market, right? So if I can produce more tonnage on my 4th cut than I normally do, that makes a huge economic impact for me, because there's a premium attached to that versus a 1st cut that's gonna be stemmy, less leafy, and not as marketable outside of the cattle industry, right?
That's a very, very interesting point you make. And it kind of warms my heart, because it does tie right back to our purpose, and that is driving profitability back to rural North America. So to step out of the Proving Ground Agrellus for a minute, as this down-home ranch girl from South Dakota, do you think this message is going to resonate with folks like you across America?
I think so. We're all looking for a way to, again, produce more with less, or find a product that will help us do that. And I think it resonates. What I have seen consistently since we started our 3rd-party trials, and even in my previous career, farmers are asking for that 3rd-party validation. They're asking manufacturers to build credibility and to prove it. But I think it's going to resonate with people in my area, but because we spread it out so far, it's going to resonate across the country, because we've attacked so many different elements, practices, soil types, etc. So when me, as a hay producer, looks at that and says, oh, I can increase my tonnage, and it's gonna be the gift that keeps on giving, because we're looking at putting this on and then just watching it across all the cuttings that we get, that's impactful. If it's something where I have to go in and spray it every time before a cutting in order to make it work, that's a different story. So one application, gift keeps on giving, kind of a no-brainer for people in my industry.
I like that gift that keeps on giving. Can I steal that?
Oh, go for it.
Okay.
Go for it, my friend.
This has publicly been stolen.
Publicly been
borrowed.
stolen. I'm going to trademark it. You'll get a bill in the mail.
Bring it on. No, it's true though, because, and that's not Rhyzogreen. That is Mother Nature, and that is working with Mother Nature. We have a one-liner that we always say, work with Mother Nature and she will work with you, and that is the gift that keeps on giving. I call it the flywheel effect. When you feed biology in the soil, you set in motion a flywheel that is naturally occurring, and when you feed a natural system, that flywheel keeps on spinning. That is a natural phenomenon. That's not us. We just enhance it and we just help spin that flywheel. So to wrap up, do you have any closing words from Agrellus to our viewers?
Absolutely. As far as I am concerned, when it went through the rigorous methodology of the Proving Ground third-party trials platform, we saw, again, a 25% increase in yield at the last cutting because we put it on right before the last cutting. And so Rhyzogreen proved on real farms in 5 states that it has true agronomic impact and true economic impact. As Agrellus, we're excited to put it on our harvest database so that growers can access that short window trial report and see how it works so that they can understand they can use it as well.
Awesome. And that brings us back to like who we are and why we're here. And that is making that impact on men and women in agriculture, driving profitability back to rural North America. Thank you for joining us. And I look at this as a journey, not an event. So let's keep enjoying the journey.